Hope everybody's doing all right. It's the Shirley Lou Show, and of course, we've got all kinds of amazing guests. And we've got another guest today, that being Dwayne Booker. We can learn more about Dwayne and what he's all about. This is definitely going to be an interesting conversation. I know a lot of folks are very much interested in fiscal literacy and in making sure that we are financially sound. And of course, Shirley Lou is all about that. So I'm interested to find out how Dwayne got involved with Shirley Lou and a lot of other things in that space. So it ought to be a fascinating conversation. I know that a lot of folks are also paying attention to their finances because of that dreaded day that is about 4 days away, even though most people have already done their work in that space, that being tax day. Because we do know tax day is on April 15th this year. That would be falling on a Saturday. So maybe people may get that reprieve till the 17th and all in that line. But definitely there are still folks that are the last minute procrastinators in all in that kind of way. I'm thinking that Dwayne's not a last minute procrastinator and see whether he filed his like way back around Christmas or something like that. We're going to bring Dwayne in and see how much of a procrastinator he is and all in that space. So we're going to bring Dwayne in here a little bit about what Dwayne is about and what he's doing in his life and all in that space. So Dwayne, where you at? I see we've got a nice scenic background in the area and all in that way. And I know that a lot of times I'm coming at us from Durham, North Carolina. I know that Shirley Lou's company is based in Virginia, but where are you at since I see a lovely scenic background?
Currently, I'm in Forsyth, Georgia. I'm at a client's house, so this is like the best scenery you could ever imagine, just being at home. So,
Sounds good. Definitely. So, are you one of those folks that actually did the taxes like back in Christmas or maybe back in like last month and everything? Or are you one of those folks that is one of those procrastinators?
this year we got it in a little bit earlier. I'm usually a procrastinator, but my wife stays on me, so we got to make sure we got everything in order, so we don't have to rush at the last minute.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Dwayne, I know we've had some amazing guests, some that have come from different parts of the world and different parts of getting into the whole financial lanes that Shirley Lou is a part of. I was just wondering, how did you get involved and what got you to be in this particular fiscal literacy space? I know some people are inherited in this field, meaning they came into the field because their parents were insurance people or bankers or some of the other financial lanes. And some people also had entrepreneurial dreams when they were young. Like I know some friends of mine that had lemonade stands, and of course, some of the ladies that sold Girl Scout cookies and all in that way. But I was wondering whether you were always an entrepreneur and were you always in the fiscal lanes, or is this something that came to you much later in life?
I've always been an entrepreneur, even since high school. I studied the fiscal lanes in high school, the stock market, watching Jim Cramer and different people like that along the way. But this was one of the last stops for me at this age. I just turned 40 last week. So finance was one of the things I really didn't ever take a deep dive into. So it came at the right time. Last year, I wanted to make it about learning financial literacy. And I got introduced to this from one of my former pastors, Dr. Diana Hollins. And the opportunity came just, like I said, at the right time and gave me just what I needed to get started.
You brought up something interesting. I know that here on Pod TV, two of the founders are in those same kind of lanes. Nick Palveda is a pension attorney, and Kim Calhoun is an engineer by trade, and all in that way. But they are very big on fiscal literacy and the schools teaching fiscal literacy. And it sounds like you were involved in some of the entrepreneurial companies that are out there. I know that for those that are in agriculture, they're Future Farmers of America, and there are some other entrepreneurial kind of companies that are in the high school and the college lanes. But I know a lot of times they are frustrated because they don't think that our school system is doing enough to teach fiscal literacy and some of the fiscal responsibility things, including things that we need to do with our insurance. So it sounds like you were involved into it at an early age and even doing stock trades. So I was wondering what pushed you into that. Were your parents into this stocks, or just something that intrigues you?
Not at all from my family background. I first became intrigued just in business in general from being introduced to the DECA Club, which is a marketing club back in high school. So that sparked my love for business, and then I just jumped into get ordering magazines and, like I say, looking at the stock market channel every morning before school and just soaking up because I wanted to be a big time business owner, and I always had a dream of maybe having a company to go public or something.
Gotcha. Do you still have that dream of having a company go public, or you just going to stick with Shirley's company and maybe she'll go public one of these days and everything? Or what is your thoughts about entrepreneurship now? And do you have some outside entrepreneurship businesses in addition to being an agent for Shirley?
Of course, I'm sticking with Shirley. As everybody say, you already know she's at the top of her game for top 50. So that's like you're being connected. They say that the top five people you're connected to, you can be, within that group. So that's definitely a good starting point for me. Entrepreneur wise, I run my own mobile detailing company in Macon, Georgia. So we're top rated on Google, and this right here is just another step into creating a bigger business that's gonna provide for my family and the generations to come. So that's laying the foundation as far as legacy building and really understand what it means to set yourself up for financial success.
One thing I've seen with entrepreneurs, and it sounds like you definitely have that same kind of mindset, is that a lot of folks will have a multitude of businesses and a multitude of things going on. So you mentioned the mobile detailing job and some things in that space, and I've known some other folks that have done, maybe had their main job and then do two or three side businesses as well. So do you think that that is the wave of the future, that folks are going to have more than one source of income, and that it is best to have maybe an entrepreneur or two businesses and then also have like a steady job? Because I am seeing more and more people that seem to be working a multitude of jobs.
I think it varies. Either way is kind of correct for each and every person. But even as you speak spiritually, biblically, it talks about having different streams of income. So, just going from that teaching, I feel like it is necessary when you're dealing with things such as inflation or just the rates at different things are priced at this age. You have to have a couple of different things in your bag just in case one is up and the other is down. So, I'm big on entrepreneurship, and I came from being a firefighter, EMT, so I see that those guys always have side jobs, and like I said, that kind of pushed me in my own lane. But wanting to be my own business owner, I wanted to put all the bets, so to speak, on myself and see where that takes me.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I can definitely see that kind of attitude and that go getting attitude. I know one of the things
Yeah.
that you talked about in the minority community is the notion of generational wealth. And I don't know that there's been enough conversations around that also. So I was wondering what some of your own thoughts are. And you mentioned that you have a wife. I don't know if y'all have any young kids, but are you already thinking about planning beyond this life and planning into the generations to come?
Definitely already in plan. I feel like I started those plans back in high school, so I still have my books and my notes of everything I wanted to do, the ideas. So now it's kind of putting it into action. So even with that, talking to my son, which is about to graduate from D. Fort Valley State University next year, he wants to be an owner, so he just got into trucking. My daughter's dual enrolled as a senior; she's into the nursing program. So we're already instilling those principles early, so they can do what we didn't do at our age.
Now that makes a lot of sense, and you've got them on that mindset of doing entrepreneurship at a young age, which is a great thing, and a lot of people aren't doing enough of that. One of the parts of generational wealth is also land ownership. So I was wondering, have you been looking in some of that aspects as well? Because I know that sometimes we as a people don't always know the properties that we have and the kind of financial benefits that those can put out there also. So I was wondering if that's something you've been looking at all in that part. It's part of your financial portfolio.
Definitely. So since the pandemic, we went into our third year of home ownership. So the next goal is to start purchasing land, whether that's to build on for our future family or to do other things as far as investment for those land and those properties, as well as like multifamily homes, things of that nature. So we've really been looking into that as far as part of our journey into the whole financial space.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I know one of the other things that people have been very much fascinated by, and you mentioned it earlier, was that before getting involved with Shirley, you were doing work with a organization that is getting a lot of support, and it definitely has gotten a lot of support over the last several years because of the pandemic, and that being our law enforcement and the firefighter folks and all in that way. So I was just wondering, at what point in your career did you decide you wanted to go into that career? And for how long were you in that field? And what are some of the life lessons that you learned from being a firefighter?
In a sense, I was pushed into that space at the time. I didn't realize what was going on beforehand with the 2008 crash and things of that nature. So me coming out of management at the time, it was kind of hard for me to find a position. So just had a kind of a vision one day of going for that. That was like a last step, and I ended up accomplishing it. And what the firefighter and EMT program taught me was, after going through that much hard work and really putting yourself on the line, that I could do anything. So I started applying that to everything that I wanted to do or whatever other ideas that I had.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know one of the other shows that we have here is actually a couple of shows. One is the Wall Street Hacker, and the other is one on modern investments, which is definitely looking at some of the more traditional kind of investments like the stock and things along those lines. And you definitely mentioned that even as a high school kid way back when that you used to study that market. So, what are some of the things that you have been looking at that you have found interest in that you think people should be paying attention to? I know some folks have been really bullish on energy. I know that some people have been really bullish on some of the service products, but I was just wondering, are you still active in the stock market? And are there things that you have found that are very much good products in your mind that more people should be looking at?
I'm active in both the stock market and the crypto space. So my thing right now is not only looking at opportunities that are at low cost, where you see things are dropping, and having that as the opportunity of being prepared and get yourself into the game. I'm also looking at the future as far as transaction wise. We know that a lot of things will be going on as far as making money off each transaction that people do. So that's an area that I'm looking into.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are your thoughts? Because it sounds like you are in a lane that some people would say are almost opposed to each other. Because I know some people that are into the stock market space that are not the biggest fans of crypto because they find that crypto is not steady in their mind, and there are some that even want to compare it to pyramid schemes and other things along those lines. But what about crypto has been appealing to you, and do you ever get some pushback from some of your friends in the stock market space as well? Because I do know that there are some people that are, more traditional investment, which is definitely what the stock would be, and there are some that would consider crypto more of a newer trend and maybe not as solid as some of the other ones. But I was just wondering what your own reactions and reactions of your friend and families have been.
Uh, some people think of it, like as you said, as a pyramid, as a scheme. No, I'm not doing that. But as they see how things go up, or they see the changes that it's making, just overall, even just Bitcoin on its own as itself, people are starting to open up a lot more. Just like they're doing for the stock market when they're seeing things going low, and the other people are steady buying in. They're now taking more, seeing what they can do with that extra money that they may have sitting around. So
Yeah.
as far as pushback, I kind of don't listen to it as much. It kind of make you discouraged sometimes if you're new, and make you not want to do it yourself. But you got to know sometimes you got to buck the trend and not follow the crowd, and let it pay off in the long run.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that I've talked about both on this show and other shows as well. But I was wondering, how do you go about doing that? Because I know a lot of people that get very much hearing those, both the inner critic, and we know that we all have our inner critic that is always telling us reasons not to do things, and all in that space. And we also know that we all have those outer critics that will tell us all the reasons that what we're doing is the wrong thing to do. But I was just wondering, it sounds like you're a very positive person that is going to go to for what's best for you and your family. But how do you manage to avoid those pitfalls?
Um, Self motivation and realizing that as they talk about the financial game of life, that the people who take the higher risk get the higher rewards in the end. So, and like I say, when you get into it, you got to be willing to actually lose something. So
Yeah.
I've taken some losses and I've taken some gains, and I just I enjoy it. I look forward to the future, and even as looking at our children, those are some of the things I look into when I start to invest now, because they are telling us what the trends of the future will be.
Yeah, definitely. How do you manage that? Because you mentioned the wife and definitely the daughter and the son, but how do you manage that work-life balance? Because I know that that is something in other conversations with some of your fellow agents we've had conversations about, and it can be a challenge for everybody. I'm still, even though I'm in the 60s, still in that single space and have been in that single space for a number of years, actually pretty much all my life, except for a relationship here and there. But even with the single space, you still have to do that work life balance. So, how do you manage that work life balance with your wife, who may be in the fiscal field or she may not be in the fiscal field, and your kids who sound like they are pushing to go into other kinds of businesses?
Well, my wife is an RN, so she has a long schedule herself. But we try to. I like to take advantage of this time, especially with the daylight savings. I take advantage of those extra hours of daylight, and I also we do a lot more planning. So we do a lot more planning, and not just only with me and my wife as a couple, but we do a lot more family planning. So we make sure everybody gets their time in, and then we realize in some situations that, and she has to tell me that repeatedly. You're the boss, so you can set your own schedule. You can take that time off. So I make sure I make time for my family because. Uh, those memories are important, especially when we talk about creating legacy.
Yeah, those memories are very important. You have to definitely do that, and all in that line, that is very much an important part of that whole building of legacy and everything. Um, have you started playing into the insurance part of things? Because I know that there have been some folks that are looking at insurance even as a way to make income, and I'm sure that that's part of what you're talking to your clients about as well. So a lot of times people don't necessarily think about the IULs and some of the other things that exist in that space. But I was just wondering, how difficult has it been for you to get folks to understand that insurance can be part of their fiscal portfolio?
I think at some point, I feel like each agent coming in is probably going to go through all the emotions when dealing with this and trying to educate people. So you're actually changing people's mind state and maybe generations worth of a mentality. So it's going to take some time just understanding that. So my approach has been trying to apply myself and my own type of style to it, as well as playing the long game. So I know I got to start teaching. So let's go from the basics and make it fun, make it interesting, and then take you to where you need to be. So I don't want to dump it all on you at one time. I just That's what I feel like I want to do because I'm passionate about it. But I know I got to take it slow and meet you where you're at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of the other things you mentioned was that in some of the jobs that you have gotten, it was because of your connection to your spirituality and to your religious leaders and everything in it that way. So I just wondered, in your own life, how important has that been, having that spiritual connection, that connection to the Most High, and all in that way? Because I did hear you mention that there was a thinking it was a pastor or somebody that was helping you in one of those decisions that you made. But I was just wondering, how important is it for you to have that connection to something greater than yourself?
Uh, that's the most important. My wife is going to make sure that's the most important, and not only myself, but that's the key to it all. So understanding the principles that have been laid out, as to speak the talents that were given, using it. If you don't use it, you lose it. So just understanding different things at different points of my life, and it really just laid the foundation for not only allowing me to take this journey, but allowing me to be wise along the journey.
Yeah, you definitely got to be wise along the journey and everything along those lines. What are some of the most important lessons that you feel that you have learned from working with Shirley? Because I do know that Shirley has a lot of insight and she does her regular meetings and all in that space. But what are some of the most important lessons that you feel that you have learned during this journey that you have been going on?
You always got to be constantly just involved. You got to be interacting. You have to be, when you're talking about Shirley, a game changer because that's what she is. So just seeing the stuff that she's developing and coming along with, and the way she's kind of changing the way you do insurance or just the financial market. Just taking a look at that, the books, the speaking, the just the way she is around people. All of that is just phenomenal and game changing in itself. So just soaking that up and applying that. Like everybody always says, just follow Shirley. So when you really look at her and look at what she's doing and take notes, then you start building that on yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes people make in their financial planning and in terms of their financial thoughts and everything? Because I know a lot of people are procrastinators. I mentioned that with the tax season. That's probably one of the faults that I have seen. I've also seen a lot of people, even with their businesses and in their family planning, that don't really have a plan. So they don't really have a system of what they will do in the situation of a medical emergency, or should they, and we're all doomed to, just like coming to Earth, we're also all doomed to at some point leave the Earth, and not many people have plans for that, or not enough folks have plans for that in their life. So that's just some of the mistakes that I've seen. But I was wondering, what are some of the ones that you have observed in talking to your clients, and how do you get them out of those mindsets?
I would say my top three are not having a plan at all, and the other one would be not thinking you don't have enough money to execute that plan. And then the other one is feeling like it's too late for you to get started on that plan. So
Right.
those are three of the things that I see a lot that people face, and they may beat themselves up too much to where they don't get started. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of not only teaching the people about that financial literacy, but also motivating them as well. Because you got dreams, you have goals, you have things that you want to do, and realize that hey, you can do it. Other people come from even worse situations, and it's possible for you too.
Yeah, that was actually a conversation that they were having on one of our shows yesterday because there were some people that were not the biggest fans of Obamacare because they felt that it was too expensive a plan and all in that way. And you do have a number of people that are concerned about the various plans that are out there and don't think that they have enough money in order to invest because, they say that there is a certain percentage that you are supposed to put into your household. And if you spend more than that, you are probably going over budget. I want to say it's about a third, if I remember correctly, and all in that way. But I'm thinking that most people don't even know what percentage they should put in their financial planning in general, whether that's insurance, whether that's how much they should have in a bank account, or a number of other things just in terms of day to day survival. But I just wondering your thoughts as to what is a good benchmark for thinking about in terms of how much money you should be investing in whatever your financial plans are.
I would say first off, the benchmark will be taking some of those things up on your list of priority. Like
Right.
we say, we may overspend or we may not budget, but a lot of us go over budget monthly, weekly, and don't even recognize it. If we got a certain thing that we want, some people gonna make sure they go get it, and that could be a luxury, that could be entertainment or things of that nature. So we got to boost those financial aspects that's gonna provide for us in the long run of that list.
Now that makes sense. I mean, one of the biggest ones that I know I'm guilty of, and you may be guilty of it as well. I know many of a young entrepreneur is in all of that space is that too often we don't spend enough money on day-to-day groceries and on day-to-day food, which means that you eat out quite a bit, and eating out is not exactly the cheapest way to maintain your life, and it definitely can be a very expensive luxury because I know some people that probably eat out at least 2 to 3 times a day, and that can add up to what, about 15 to 21 times a week if they're eating out that much. And hopefully they're not, but there are a number of folks I know that are probably eating out that much because of how much they are doing that hustle and bustle thing as well. But I just wonder, would you agree that that's one of the things that is maybe done a little bit too much and isn't thought about as much as it probably should be?
And it's not, it's probably just second nature. You know, you got to go get it as fast, as quick, and you don't realize you spend more money doing that than you did if you went and did that planned out grocery shopping. But that brings up a point when my daughter just had her 18th birthday in February, and we took her out to eat. And when we got the bill, it ended up being like $160. So it was like, do you know what we could have did with a portion of that, or how many days we could have ate with that 160? So a lot of times we don't think about it. We just do it because we want to celebrate or we want to do you know just something that seems second nature now.
Yeah, it's almost become second nature. And like you said, so many people are doing that hustle and bustle thing and all in that space. Another thing that we've been seeing a lot of people do, and I don't know what your thoughts are around this, is but during the pandemic, a lot of folks were trying to figure out how to make ends meet. So there was a lot of folks that were getting various side hustles, whether that be
Yeah,
DoorDash or Lyft or Uber or a number of other ones that are out there, including some that are more specific to Georgia and Macon and all in that area. But what has been your conversation with your clients about the side hustles and how they can either help or hinder what's going on with the financial planning? Because I don't know that enough people are even thinking about how to manage the money that they're making from the side hustles that they are doing.
that too. It just gets thrown in the pot. It's not separated. It's not allocated to going towards, hey, it's building this. But that side hustle is key. Everything people say they don't have or can't afford, that side hustle can provide. Whether that's the extra $20 for a policy, whether it's an extra 100, even like you said, whether it's the extra money for food, and just I'm big on using your creativity. So you get those ideas, and that is your money. So once you put those ideas to work, then you got to work that other plan at the same time and not forget about it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know that on the networking and just in general, I've had a lot of friends that have been in the entrepreneur space, and sometimes they have a vision of what that entrepreneur business will be. I don't know necessarily that all entrepreneurs have the best entrepreneurial business plan out there, and some of them have no business plan at all. So I'm just wondering, what are some of the lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur, whether it's on the detailing business that you have, or what you're doing with Shirley, or some of the other entrepreneurial businesses that you are considering working in. So, what are some of the lessons you have learned from being an entrepreneur?
My main lesson is write the vision, write it down, make it plain. Even if it doesn't go according to plan, you've got something that you can look at and go. Even if it's going step by step that you can follow, and that'll open the door. Once you write it down, you start to see those things come. As people speak on the law of attraction or different things of that nature, it's in your mind. As you read about it, but once you write it down and start planning and working that plan, you start to see things start to manifest a lot quicker. That's
Yeah,
one
that
thing
makes
I
a lot.
think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Who are some of the entrepreneurs that have really inspired you? I know that there are two entrepreneurs out there that are actually battling and thinking about maybe even picking back up BET as a black-owned business. That being Byron Allen and, of course, Tyler Perry. But I was just wondering who are some of the entrepreneurs of any space, whether they be older entrepreneurs like the CJ Walkers of the world, or newer entrepreneurs that have inspired you in your own entrepreneurial journey.
Wow. Oh wow. Um, that's a tough that's a tough question, but a lot of those people you just mentioned, the Tyler Perrys, even the Shirley Lou as of right now, that whole space, and just seeing what people have done. The wow, man, you got so many in different spaces. Athletes, LeBron James. Um wow, it's hard to name a lot of them, but
No, I
they've
get
all
you.
been inspiring me. I've studied a lot of people over these years, and they have been motivation of showing what you can do and what's possible, and just
I'm glad
working
you
that.
mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned LeBron James because one of the things I've been curious about, and we've definitely talked about this with some of the other guests, including some that were in the athletic space that have worked with Shirley Lou and everything, is do you feel that enough of our entrepreneurs, particularly those in the entertainment and the sports fields, are doing enough to give back to the community? We know of many of the entrepreneurs, and definitely I do think LeBron is doing a good job of putting back into Ohio. But we hear a number of other ones that we don't hear enough of their um, giving back to the communities they came from. Not to say that they haven't, but sometimes they like to be silent in the way that they give back and all in that way. But then others are more active in what they are doing. But I was just wondering, as a general rule, do you think that some of our folks that have made it into the sense of making the riches are doing enough to give back to the communities they came from?
I think you're seeing a wave right now where it's becoming more popular and kind of being normalized. I think it's more platforms are needed and more opportunities are needed to shine a light on those things as we're seeing all the negative stuff in the media. So I think those things will be really helpful in not only increasing the push on financial literacy, but allowing people to explore their own creativity and do different things. And because we recognize that small businesses, power most of the country. So that I think that will give people a lot more motivation because those people are really inspiring to a lot of not only the youth
No,
but the adults.
yeah, no, definitely they're doing that. You mentioned earlier, and you mentioned even your own background when you were in school. But how do you think we're doing in the sense of teaching fiscal literacy and financial responsibility in our school systems? And I would even go as far up in the school system as our colleges, because I don't know that it's getting as much uh, kind of traction as it used to. But I was just wondering your thoughts on that, and if you think that that is something that you would like to see a greater um, education around, because I mean a lot of folks probably don't even think about even the insurance market when they are in the schools, whether that be high school or college, and definitely not in grade school. But I was just wondering your thoughts about the nature of education and the nature of fiscal education here in the United States.
Over the past few months, I've been hearing talks about financial literacy being introduced into some school areas, and I think that is going to be very important. I would love to see how that's going to play out, and that's what I'm gearing up. I want to be involved in that aspect. Coming from growing up in the Boys and Girls Clubs and things of that nature, we were put in leadership positions and taught create different little businesses and manage money to for us to take trips or for us to buy equipment. So I think that is key when you're growing up to start early because the kids are so advanced now and they have more technology at hand that will totally change things when you're looking 10, 20 years on down the line. As well as in the college space, I went to Georgia Southern for business, and there was besides the stock market class. Other than that, there wasn't much taught about the financial literacy aspect of things. But I think that would be key and critical too when you're looking for folks who are seeking to come out of college and go into a bigger, higher paying position or things of that nature.
No,
You got to be literate and you got to be able to manage some things.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You definitely got to be more literate in those spaces and definitely got to find ways to get more folks involved in that fiscal literacy. You mentioned the Boys and Girls Club, and a lot of people are very much familiar with that organization. I don't think it gets as much support as it probably should. I actually had a dear friend that used to be part of the executive team of one of the Boys and Girls Clubs here in North Carolina. But I just wondered if you could just share some of your own thoughts about growing up there and some of the things that you learned from the Boys and Girls Club, and whether there is you feel that it is as strong as it used to be, or is there ways that we can build it back up to what it was in the past?
I definitely think there's a strong need to build it back up to give kids some activity, kind of even get kids away from holding the phone in their hands or giving them something else to do to expand their minds. It was key in my life, key not only to uh, keep children off the streets, but as well as to give them an environment full of other kids where they can have fun and enjoy. They taught principles as soon as you come in the door, homework. Like I said, they gave us leadership responsibilities. We got to run the front desk. We got to create events. We got to do tournaments. We got to do some of everything that a kid would not normally do. But it taught you responsibility. We had to clean up the floors and buff the gym and different things of that nature. That was actually one of my first jobs. So that was really big in my life, being able to work full time at the age of 15 and then provide for my family. So definitely it needs to be invested in a lot more and brought back to a lot of these communities.
No, it definitely got to be brought back to more of the communities you mentioned earlier, and I don't know how much of an issue it was with you. And like I said, I don't have any kids of my own, but I do have my two nephews that my younger brother had with one of his ex-wives, and all in that space. But I know a lot of times they are very much involved in technology. They have the Oculus set and are oftentimes involved in the whole video game space and the things along that kind of way. But I was just wondering, as a parent, how much have it been a issue with you trying to make sure that your kids are getting the traditional education, maybe learning some of this new technology, but not getting over absorbed in it and all in that space? So I'm thinking that's got to be one of those balancing conversations as well. But I'm just wondering how you dealt with it and if it's been an issue with either you or your wife in the sense of wanting them to be encouraged to use the new technology, but not get overly absorbed in it.
We definitely try to encourage using it for the right purposes, not just entertainment all day long. We definitely saw how much time was being spent on the devices, and and realizing that we provide kids with all kind of devices outside of the phone. They have all kind of other electronics, whether that be the iPad or different things of that nature. So when they're having trouble in school or can't figure something out, we encourage them on how to use that technology to find the answer that you need instead of saying, you don't know how to do it. And we also go back to the traditional way. So our children still read a lot of books and we make them read it on video. So if you want to earn some money, then you'll read this book on your video, answer a question afterwards, and that's the way you start earning as you learn.
Were there any books in particular, either that you tried to get your kids to read or that you remember reading yourself that were encouraging to you in your own entrepreneurial and even in your own education around finances? I know some people will find life lessons in books that are as profound as the Bible, and some people will also remember books like that book that had the whole title around what color is your parachute, around job opportunities and things along those lines. And of course, there are definitely some self-help books out there that are very numerous. But I was wondering whether there was any particular literature that struck your interest and has helped your own journey.
Uh, Definitely Think and Grow Rich. Uh, Rich Dad Poor Dad, which we have the board game as well. Um, let me see, The Big Idea by Dr. Miles Monroe, and mainly Bible. Other than that, Bible principles. I really can't think of a couple of other titles offhand, but those books have really been key and just constantly being repeated and read and listened to over and over.
What are some of the Bible principles that you find help you really with your entrepreneurship journey? And maybe there's some Bible proverbs or Bible verses that help you in your day-to-day journey in your own life.
One of the most biggest things is faith, like believing and trusting in something that you can't see already, and believing that it's gonna come to pass. You definitely have to have that in the entrepreneurial space because, like I said, you're gonna go through all the emotions, and you have to learn how to deal with that. Um, Other than that, being able to be disciplined, be a good steward of what you have. Once you realize you can take care of the little things, then you see that you're bigger things are placed into your hands. So that's what I see in this financial space. So just learning the little things and applying those, whether that's saving $5 here and there, then it turns into something bigger. Now I got a bigger responsibility. Just like with the home ownership, you go from renting and taking care of somebody else's property, then you're entrusted with the task of taking care of your own. So those are some key things.
No, that makes sense. You definitely mentioned that you're based in Macon, Georgia, and of course, Georgia was very much in the news and will probably be in the news again since we're going to go into the presidential elections and all in that space. But I'm just wondering how much of the Georgia political landscape has played a factor in your own life and everything, and whether you had been active in any of those voter rights and voter pushes to get out the vote in your own life, and whether you think that's going to be an important issue in 2024. Because we do know, I think I just heard recently that Stacey Abrams, who ran twice, is now going to be moving up to Howard to be a educator and all in that space.
Hmm. It became big to me around the I would say the Obama era more so to speak. I was awarded some awards during the Clinton era during getting out and volunteering and doing some things in the community. But during the Obama era it was a real push, and as well as trying to uh, learning how to make the right decisions on the candidates.
Right.
Seeing the candidates, the way they battled, the way they debated, the way the whole political landscape started changing. It's becoming more about bashing people and not so much about getting things done. Um, that was a real push about getting out and make sure we vote. And my wife is big on that, so I'm in trouble if I don't come home with a sticker. So it's really being ingrained into an aspect of our life.
Yeah, you better have that I voted sticker, otherwise she's going
Yeah.
to give you a hard time. I know the sticker that
Oh
you're
yeah.
referring to big time. I definitely know that sticker. If you don't have it on your shirt or on your jacket lapel or something, yeah, there are some folks that might be getting a little bit upset at you.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't done your civic duty and you got to get out there and do that civic duty. Speaking of which, how important do you think it is for entrepreneurs to be engaged in their community? We kind of mentioned it with the athletes and the entertainers, but how important do you think it is for entrepreneurs in general to stay engaged with their community and to be involved in community issues?
Right now, I'm really getting to the point where I think it's bigger than ever because you have to be not only up to date and relevant with what's going on, but you do have to be involved. As you see with more bigger corporations, they don't have the opportunities as so much as to be involved directly in the community. But for us that can move around and know people and know different all the spaces, it's very key. And it's very key for the youth and the other people to see us out in the community being involved and that they'll get interested and they'll get involved. So it's and not only that, grassroots marketing. So that's important for your business as well. So you got to be out, you got to be visible, whether that's in the community, online, represent the community. It's very major if you're an entrepreneur in these days.
Yeah, and I know another entrepreneurship journey that a lot of people are talking about, and I imagine it probably is up to you when your own business being based there in the place where your clients are as well, was there was a big push to buy local. So I just wondered if you guys had any thoughts around that, because a lot of people were definitely trying to get you to buy stuff that was from near your own community. So like you're from Macon, you might be trying to buy stuff from a Macon car dealership or a Macon grocery store or something like that. So how important has that buy local movement been in your own life?
Over the last few years, it's been an exciting, a fun journey, so to speak. We want to try something new. We support a lot of local businesses, whether that's from the clothing, whether that's from the food. We just try to do that because even being entrepreneurs, you know how that road is trying to get people to support you and not having that support and how it can be discouraging. So we try to see what people creativity is and are and give them that support because we know how it feels and we know that that can go a long way. People will remember that stuff.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely remember that stuff. There's no doubt about that. That supporting your own community and making sure that they are engaged and all in that space is very important. And unfortunately, we don't do enough of that. And sometimes we let other forces come in and kind of control our communities. Because I'm definitely here in Durham, which is part of the Black Wall Streets, and we've seen some of those unfortunately neighborhoods being destroyed, and gentrification is a real thing and all in that spaces. I've even seen it in places like Macon and definitely even Atlanta and stuff along those lines. But what are some of the things that surprised you when you moved to Macon, and how long have you been in Macon, and was Georgia original home for you?
It's been my home, and outside of going to college in Statesboro, this is where I've been outside of traveling as well. But those movements, you see that going on here as well. Like you spoke on the Black Wall Street, there's a Black Wall Street going on movement going on in downtown Macon as well. They're buying up property slowly. They're giving black entrepreneurs a chance to put businesses in their spaces. So you see that trend starting to grow, and just this coming from this area and seeing how it is, it's exciting to be a part of the journey. Yeah, I know the Macon area kind of started out slow and kind of behind on the times, for I know our teachers used to tell us 10, 15 years behind, but you can kind of see it catching up now and entrepreneuring and networking is becoming a central part of the community now.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I know that Macon, well, Atlanta was definitely seen as one of those thriving metropolises, particularly for the African American community and everything. But I am hearing people, and I do have a cousin that is a GBI officer, that he's talking about some of the areas that folks might not be thinking about as much, like Macon, like Dalton, and some of the other places that are down there in Georgia. So, what are some of the regions of Georgia that you think folks might want to consider either moving to or looking at as maybe even business investment basis? I know definitely Macon will be on your list because you're down there in Macon, but what are some of the other ones as well?
You're looking at places that will be good for growth. You're looking at the Warner Robins, the Perry area. They're already implementing those plans of growth with projections. You're seeing more houses, apartments being built, more businesses coming. Bon Air, you got the Forsyth area. Just a lot of places that are in need, and you're seeing people start to invest more. That's where I'm at now, Forsyth, and this community is still growing. Houses are being built up by the tens and twenties at a time. So. All along that area going down 75 South before you get into going into Florida, it's a lot of room for growth.
It sounds like it. And a lot of people I know are looking at that housing market, and they're looking at, of course, those business markets and everything. One of the things I know sometimes people get trapped in is this notion that, and you mentioned it even with the insurance, of not being able to afford it. But there are ways to get around that. If you don't have the wherewithal yourself, you might be able to join investment clubs or things along those lines. And there are ways that you can do even maybe some of your insurance and all that. So when you were talking to your clients and they are giving you the broke speech, what is some of the ways that you try to get them to understand that there are alternatives and ways that they can get their financial picture together, whether that's through the insurance lane or through just other lanes, and maybe it's doing group investments or group uh, ways of doing even the insurance. But I was just wondering your thoughts as to how you get people out of that I don't have the money mentality.
I really like to tell people to look around. When you look around, you have money right in front of you. Like you don't have to go outside of the space that you're in. When you look around and see things that you don't use or things that you spend a lot of money on that, like I say, it may not be getting as much use. That's money sitting right there in front of your face, and you just got to learn other ways or avenues of tapping into that money. Some people don't know how to work and make money online, even though they use their phones all day. So it's showing people other ways that hey, you could take a picture of this, put it online for sale, and hey, you might cover your policy, you might cover your investment for that month. and then you find the other things in your closet or what your children may have that they don't use. It's countless opportunities that are right there in front of us.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't, like you said, they have things that are sitting there collecting dust. It might be collector's items. It might be a car that is among the multitude of cars. Because some people have more than one car, and sometimes one of those cars is sitting in basically in junk or in hot because it's not being used and all in that space, but it's just sitting there and collecting dust. And so it's like a big uh, money drain in some senses in some people's houses. Not saying in all people's houses, but I've definitely seen that on occasion.
Now, with you saying that, I just went through a situation. I had a car in my yard. I had to get a new vehicle, work vehicle last year, and I had a car that was just sitting there, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't want to put any more money into it. So I put it up for a cheap price, and the guy who got it came and educated me on how much he's making off of it and how much he was making that day, and I didn't even realize it. So something I just wanted a couple $100 to get rid of, he came and turned it into a couple of thousand just by getting some pieces off of it and scrapping the rest. So again, it's money sitting right there in my front yard that I didn't even know about.
Right, money that was sitting right there and all in that space. You hadn't even thought about the fact that it was there.
Yeah.
We know that sometimes people will have copper and other things in their house that they can also sometimes be making use of that they don't know is there. And of course, people have furniture. Some of it is being not used anymore. Maybe it was something that was being used for a child and the child has outgrown it, but it's still sitting
Yep.
there in the house. So we do know that people are not always maximizing their profits in any such way in all in that sense. Are there any interesting hobbies that you have in your own life that folks would find interesting? I know that in my own life, I do a lot of reading, and I have definitely have attempted every once in a while to dabble in some creative writing outside of my journalism writing and all in that space. And my brother is actually the one of the co-presidents of the Polaris Slingshot Club, so that would be his hobby. He gets around
Wow.
in those little Batmobile cars, as I like to
Yeah.
call them, at all in that space. But I was just wondering, are there any interest in hobbies, whether it's motorcycles or slingshots or other things, or maybe even horseback? Because I do have some friends that are horseback riders here in North Carolina as well. But are there any unusual hobbies that Dwayne has?
I wouldn't say unusual. I like to create, so I may make clothes, I make shirts, and I design different things. I love marketing, so I design advertisements, flyers. When I see something that sparks my interest, I just try to make that vision come to life. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, just creating.
And you said that you created, and it sounds like if I heard you correctly, that some of it is apparel. So have you had a chance to get any of that into any of the stores, or just stuff that you are creating for yourself, or is it stuff that you have looked at in the sense of getting it into fashion shows or into apparel shops or things along those lines? And is it basically just regular clothes, or is it and t-shirts, or is it a multitude of clothes?
Multitude. I've done tights, t-shirts, polos, hoods, hats. I had my own brand, which was called Happy Grinding. So I had a website up for a while that I was selling my own merchandise out of, and I had a lot of stuff going on, so I kind of downsized on doing that. But it's still a love and a passion of mine, so I still design for myself now and for my girls and for my family. So
That's interesting. And that's actually one of the things I know when Elizabeth got in touch with me, I did see that as part of your branding marketing. And I was just wondering, what did that term mean to you and everything? Because I know when I thought about it, I'm like, well, grinding is usually getting out there and getting on the grind, getting that hustle on, and all in that space. And it sounds like you were trying to do it in a way that was giving you pleasure and some satisfaction in life, hence some happy grinding. But I was wondering if that's where it was at, or where the naming came from and how that naming came about.
one other thing I like to do is like motivational speaking. That's a passion of mine. So over the years, I had a lot of key women in my life, including my mom, who just uh, were happy at doing what they did. So my motto is happy grinding, doing what you love, loving what you do, getting on your grind, and making your dreams come true. So it's all about learning that you can do what you love and still make a awesome, a great living, and not have to be settled for anything less that you're unhappy with doing. So that's what it's all about. Motivating. We motivate through the apparel, and we motivate through what we say and what we do. So it's like a lifestyle. Uh, business slash lifestyle.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know a lot of people that's actually something that they don't do enough of. I can think of many a person that goes to work on a day to day basis and they are not happy with the work that they do and they are just kind of like going through the motions of
Yeah,
making ends meet and all in that space. So, and some people would call those folks, kind of like just walking in that zombie state and all
yeah.
along those lines. But I just wondering, how much of that do you find to be common, and how are some of the ways that you try to motivate people to get out of that mindset? Because quite a few folks will go to college in order to get their degree, in order to get their job, even though it might not be a job that they are truly passionate about.
I ask a lot of questions. I break that ice by asking questions like not only what do people do, but what have you always wanted to do?
Right.
And I've seen this growing up. So even right now, I have my mom working with me. So I used to see the stress. I used to see when you got to go to work and you walk in and your chest starts hurting. And I've even been in that experience myself. And just working countless hours and not being able to enjoy your family. So um, I'm always encouraging people, like I say, to bring their ideas to life, to take control. That way, you're able to set your own schedule. That way, you're able to do what you want to do. And just this mindset has been a great change and a great push for me. Just making sure you're being happy, because, like they say, health is wealth. So you want to be able to enjoy everything you're out here working for.
No, no doubt about that. My parents actually got me into the media field because they decided to create a radio station when I was a preteen, and neither one of my parents had any sort of radio background. So this would have been in the mid '70s, like around Independence Day and all of that kind of space. But mom was actually a trained guidance counselor, and dad was trained, I think, in engineering and definitely had done some work in the civil rights struggle and all along those lines. But they did not hear enough jazz, enough blues, enough early R&B, and some other music that they liked. And they also didn't hear enough of the news of our communities being talked about. So they wanted to change that narrative, and they had a station that was on for about 12 years before it went off into the mid to late 80s and all in that space. But definitely was interesting working with my parents because definitely they were the ones that mom would literally come and pick me up from the airport when I was coming back from Marquette, and she would literally drop me off at the radio station so I could give her a break from work as she had already worked about 12 or 14 hours in that line. So I just wondering, what has it been like, Mr. Booker, working with your mom and being the boss? Because I'm sure that has to be an interesting dynamics where she used to be your boss, but then you are her boss in the case of the work environment. So what has it been like working with that changing dynamic?
For me, it's been awesome, man. You get to spend time with your family. We get to talk and enjoy, and it's not like we gotta bump heads like you might do at work with other people. It's just both of us are doing something that we love doing. My mom actually grew up in the detail space. Her dad was a detailer, so she grew up having to come home and do this type of work. So bringing her out and having the opportunity to let her make some money as well, and not have to deal with all that stress, that's amazing for me, because as a kid, I always said I wanted to be able to do something and provide for my mom. So just having this opportunity to do that is, I can't ask for more.
It makes a lot of sense. You mentioned being a motivational speaker. We're going to wind down shortly. We've almost had this hour-long conversation, and definitely a very another enriching conversation with one of Shirley Lou's folks and all in that space. But what is, as we start winding down, some of the lessons that you have learned from motivational speaking that has really motivated you yourself and everything? Because I know that one of our other shows is one that Barbara H. Smith does, and she is a coach of speakers, so a speaker coach, speaker trainer coach, and then she's also done a number of other things. And she oftentimes talks about that she gets frustrated when you go up to a motivational speech and they're basically reading the bio that anybody can read. So she likes to do something a little bit different to do the kind of ice breaking of the conversation. So I think one of the things she says is that she was a race car driver at like 10, an engineer at like 12. I forget the whole narrative, but it's basically some things that she did as a child that were examples of that kind of work, even though it wasn't actually being a race car driver. So I think the engineer was actually tearing up a computer or a car or something like that, and the race car was actually racing something at a very young age. And like I said, she
Yeah.
does a much better job of the narrative than I do. But I was just wondering, what are some unique ways that you like to break the ice with your own motivational speaking, and some ways to differentiate you from the thousands, if not multiple thousands, of motivational speakers that are out in the world?
Well, me, I come from the era of hip hop, so I'm a big music head, all types of music. But growing up hip hop, if you look at some of my videos that I have, I like to rhyme. Well, that's in my advertisements as well. So I like to make stuff rhyme. I even put it to music and come up with something that you wouldn't think of to present myself out to the people. So I like to put that aspect of myself into the what I do.
Now that makes a lot of sense. You got to add that grind, and I know that definitely Georgia has a very rich hip hop culture, and all in that space, some great hip hop artists have come out of what some people consider to be the dirty South. And of course, I'm here in North Carolina, so I'm here where Ninth Wonder is, and
Yeah,
definitely
oh yeah.
Pierce Freelon and Joshua Gunn and a number of others have been here as well. So, who are some of the hip hop artists that have influenced your own growth in that field and that you admire even in that dirty South area? Because I do know that every area has its own style. There's that kind of Southern style that I'm referring to. There's the New York style, there's the West Coast style, and there are a number of other styles. But who are some of those that really motivate you?
Um, Coming from the south, the list is growing. I love following people who do stuff outside the music space. So those I look at their business aspect as well. So you have your David Banners, you have your Master P's, you have Young Jeezy in the real estate space, you have the TIs and the I mean you got Pitbull, you got people that you don't know that might be close to a billionaire. So seeing those guys work outside of the music space, that really is kept me connected in two spaces at the same time and kept me going and motivated.
You know, we just had one of those ones that you're talking about in that space that just did a major festival that had actually been out of commission because of the pandemic. But we do know that more and more people are getting out and about, some in live performances and some in the more hybrid versions. But I want to say that the estimates were something like 50,000 people came to the Dreamville Festival, which was held in Raleigh, which is just around the corner from Durham, and all in that space. And they've already committed to coming back next year as well. They've already said they're going to be back in 2024, but they had that J. Cole was the organizer behind that festival, but I know that Waka was part of that festival, and a number of other big name artists were part of that also. And I think some people even drove up from Georgia to attend this major festival. So I don't know if you heard about it or not, but it was definitely
Oh
a
yeah.
big deal here. And a lot of people were very much into it, and they are glad that it's coming back into the area and all in that space.
Yeah, I heard about it. I would love to catch one. I definitely want to catch one of those and one of the Rick Ross car shows and different things. All the new stuff that they're coming out with.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, the show is definitely one that is very much about the whole notion of fiscal literacy, but also about the notion of trying to create positive messages and messages of hope and all of that. We are heard here on Pod TV in about 175, 200 countries or something along those
Wow.
lines. So if there's a
Yeah.
message of positivity or hope that you would like to give to folks as we get ready to wind down and let you get back to your client and all in that space, I'm sure that things folks would love to hear that and love to hear your thoughts in that space and all in that way.
For me, I would say never stop dreaming, never stop taking action. You're never too old. It's never too late to get out and do what you want to do. And if you got that thing that's been burning in your heart and in your belly, take a chance, take a leap of faith, and go out and do it. You never know what could happen. You don't. I think like Miles Monroe said, it's so many gifts and so many things that are in the grave. You don't want to go to the grave full of all those ideas that you never took advantage of. So just get out, even if it's this day, and get started.
No, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I was checking out your logo and everything, and I just want to know because actually there was a group of friends of mine that had something that was similar. It was called "Everybody Eats," and there was like some activist spaces here. And I did see that on your logo, you had the notion that with a scope of success, everybody eats. So I just wondered if you could just share a little bit about what that means to you and all in that way, because definitely I was seeing that, and I was going like, hey, that's an interesting way of addressing things in that sense.
Scoop of success is it's in the notion of everybody's hungry, and even the motivational speaker Les Brown said you got to be hungry. So anything that you're attacking in life, there got to be a hunger to it. That keeps you going. And the scoop of success is just everybody has their own definition of success, but each day we get that chance to get a little scoop till our bowl fills up, till our cup runs over. So each day you just enjoy the scoop.
No,
Everybody gets to take in it, so everybody eats. Your one little idea could provide for your family, your friends, and countless other people.
that makes a lot of sense. Definitely can address and definitely identify with that. I hear the dog in the background is like, look, I'm hungry. I need to get my food all in that space. So we're definitely going to put on some of the commercials from definitely Shirley Lou, and definitely has been a great conversation. If it's all right with you, we might even at the end of the show put on some of those happy grinding videos only in that space, or do them on later episodes as well. But definitely we'll try to get some of those in there if that's all right with you, and all in that line. But definitely, I've
Definitely.
thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. If you got any last thoughts before going and feeding that dog, then we'll get ready to wind up with some of the advertisement and all in that way.
Just in these days and time, it's almost at a time of anything goes. So just take advantage right now as much as you can of the technology, getting involved in your financial literacy, changing that mindset, and going outside the norm. It's okay. People might not understand it. People might, you might lose people in this journey, but it's all for the greater good in the long run.
Sounds great. So we're going to get on out of here. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Hope that you have a pleasant rest of the day. And like I said, I'll probably wind up putting on some of the hyper grinding commercials as well, as we re-air this a couple of times also. So definitely look forward to hearing from you in the near future, and hopefully we'll have you come back in the not too distant future.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Shirley, too.
Yo, no problem.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, powered by First Financial Security, our mission is to help all people achieve financial security and peace of mind.
My team and I are here to help you reach financial security tomorrow and for generations to come.
She is one of the most sincere and compassionate people that I will ever meet in my life. She sincerely wants to build a legacy where no young woman that she meets is left destitute, that they are able to be self-sufficient, to provide for a family in an emergency, to build for their future and for our future generations.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, we are changing the face of insurance and retirement plans. Our mission is to lead, empower, and grow. We are the home of tax-free retirement. We provide comprehensive planning for businesses, rollovers for retirees, and individual personal financial planning.
I'm a very people-oriented person. It's important for me to make sure my clients feel in a safe environment, make sure I feel in a safe environment, that I can trust the people that I'm working with. And I feel that here working with Shirley and my team. These people are more like family to me.
Shirley has donated time and resources to the Shelter House, Women of Good Works, Good 360, Women That Soar, local churches, and the Lisa Initiative. The Lisa Initiative helps inform, educate, and empower women and their families' financial security. We believe entrepreneurship is a possibility for all walks of life.
Reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation to see how we can help.
Valdosta Nissan says pick your payment, then pick your vehicle.
At Valdosta Nissan, we have so many vehicles to sell, we're letting you pick your payment.
Some as low as $199 a month, and some even have zero down. Your vehicle, your payment. It's that easy.
With over 300 company-wide, there's a vehicle for everyone, and you pick the payment. Come see why so many folks buy from Valdosta Nissan every day. All day, every day, Valdosta Nissan has your best deal.
I'd like you to imagine with me, if you will, opening an app where you can collaborate with like-minded individuals from from around the world, get inspiration and in-app tools to launch and grow your business, as well as share your knowledge and earn compensation, all in one app. Well, the name of that app is Truso, short for Truly Social. Hi, I'm Matthew Newman, the founder and CEO of Truso. A new concept in social media, Truso is designed from the ground up to be a platform that's both social and empowering for all its users. How exactly do we do that? I'm glad you asked. First, Truso brings the world together via video. Psychologists assert that video provides a significantly more effective connection than audio only. When you enter a community on Truso, you're face to face. Second, on Truso, you don't have to have 1 million followers to monetize. Our business model allows all hosts and moderators to monetize, no matter the size of your following, by 1, producing fee-based content, and 2, inviting others to join the platform as subscribers. Even more, Truso has an in-app resource library with over 100 free resources, forms, and documents to help you build your brand and grow your business. Third, Truso is inclusive. The deaf and hard of hearing communities make up 360 million people worldwide. Unlike audio-only apps, Truso embraces this community, providing a networking platform that allows them to participate via video and closed captioning. We even have a deaf and hard of hearing foundation in the works as well. Fourth, Truso is both social and safe. We refer to Truso as a virtual extension of the beauty shop, barbershop, and brainchild of the community. A place where there's laughter, along with wisdom, growth-oriented conversation, and genuine connections in a safe space. Truso even has proprietary security to ensure we maintain a safe environment for everyone. Where are we at now? Truso is live, y'all. We've launched in beta and we're acquiring users daily. We have an incredible development and marketing team, plus amazing celebrity influencers at the table, helping us spread the word around the globe, beginning within the African diaspora and beyond by creating a safe space for growth, connection, and collaboration. We're truly excited about Truso. We've created something special for which there is a global market. And we invite you to embark on this journey with us as a shareholder. The future for Truso is truly bright. Join us and let's go there together.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, powered by First Financial Security, our mission is to help all people achieve financial security and peace of mind.
My team and I are here to help you reach financial security tomorrow and for generations to come.
She is one of the most sincere and compassionate people that I will ever meet in my life. She sincerely wants to build a legacy where no young woman that she meets is left destitute, that they are able to be self-sufficient, to provide for a family in an emergency, to build for their future and for future generations.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, we are changing the face of insurance and retirement plans. Our mission is to lead, empower, and grow. We are the home of tax-free retirement. We provide comprehensive planning for businesses, rollovers for retirees, and individual personal financial planning.
I'm a very people-oriented person. It's important for me to make sure my clients feel in a safe environment, make sure I feel in a safe environment, that I can trust the people that I'm working with. And I feel that here working with Shirley and my team. These people are more like family to me.
We believe entrepreneurship is a possibility for all walks of life.
Reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation to see how we can help.
you got to think, why would you doubt yourself and say you can't make it? A detailer, a dealership, or a car dealer, car lot may want to pay you $10 to $12 an hour to do 6 to 8 full details a day. So you do the math and determine whether, if I can step out on my own, I believe in myself that I can make it, or I can at least make $25, $50 for a full detail. I mean, that's just at below bare minimum. So you got to believe in yourself, believe that you can do it. It's possible. I've been in your shoes, and you can make it happen. If I can, you can do it too. So happy grinding, happy shining. Let's get it. So today we're looking at what's your niche? What's my specialty? Am I a jack of all trades? Do I do multiple things? And sometimes you got to think beyond just the cars, you know. Lots of things have wheels, lots of things need cleaning. You got heavy equipment, cars, motorcycles. You can specialize in one, or you could kind of tackle them all. It just depends on what's around you, what you see, who you may know. So you got the trailers, plenty of trucks in the trucking industry. You see those all day at your local gas stations, just parked. I mean, the opportunities are endless. So you can't just limit yourself and say, oh, this is not working, or I can only charge $20, $25 for a detail. Nobody wants to pay. You got to get out those limiting beliefs and expand your reach, expand your territory, and expand that skill set. So sometimes it takes knowing, hey, how to clean aluminum, how to acid wash, how to polish, because some of these things are necessary. And really, at the end of the day, some of this stuff's still not big enough. You're limiting yourself to a bigger job. So you got what people are paying thousands of dollars to get trucks like these done and ready for sale, as we tell you about in detail and ready for sale. So you got to think outside that box. Hey, it's not just cars. It's not just my friends and family, but it's, what do I see around me? What am I not tapping into? Because you ride by these things all day, every day. Just check this out. Check out my background. That's across the street. Plenty of tanker trucks. And this is an industrial area. So it's plenty of factories around here, plenty of trucks moving in and out, whether it's box trucks, 18-wheelers, flatbeds, refrigerator trucks. Everything needs to be clean at some point in time when people are running a business. So you got to think, these trucks are in and out weekly and dirty weekly, hauling sod, hauling cement, gravel, rocks. So they got to be maintained not only for their longevity, but also for the presence of the company. So you got to look outside the box on these things. Never limit yourself. Stop doubting yourself. And we got to get out here and get to work. Sometimes it's hard to work. A lot of people don't want to do it. They want that little easy spray off and, you know, I'm gone and move on to the next one, doing 10 a day. If that's for you, that's fine. But if you're really trying to take this thing to where you're saying, hey, I want to make high 5, 6 figures in it, then you got to be looking at something different. So that's our tip on today. Again, got to quit those limiting beliefs. This is a mental game as well, just like anything else, any other business, any other game. If you feel like you got competitors, it's all mental at the beginning. There are going to be those ups and down days. Hey, it's pollen season right now. You may have winter going on. We got a combination of everything with how the weather's going. So again, we may be indoors, we may be outdoors, we may be stationary, but we can make it work to our advantage if we just think about it. So think about that. Get your jot list out, write down some things, look around as you go to the stores, travel, and just write down some potentials. And then we got to get out, we got to get the honey, because there's plenty of money out there. Don't leave nothing on the table. Stay hungry. Happy grind.